You out there? Yes, there you are. Hi, I'm George. Welcome back to Barley and Hops, the channel that offers you the unmitigated truth. Well, at least as much as we know collectively, because the community is so strong. So, we're going to talk today about a couple of topics I know you'll be interested in.
If you want to hear about the kind of booze that they serve around here, made way back in
Well,
top of them hills.
let me start by saying thanks to everybody who has already joined our community and for those who are about to, because it's you that make the community as strong as it is. Now, on that note, yes, of course, I always provide my email address and yes, my phone number, and that has proven to be very helpful, although it is also a crutch in a way. We'll talk a little bit about that. Now, today we're going to talk about three things that we get a lot of requests on, or a lot of comments on, or there's a lot of discussion, or just there's a lot of sharing of information. And those three things are, and please don't ever be afraid when you see the whiteboard. This is just my way of explaining information with either pictures or words. Glycerin, okay? Tomato paste, and yeast flakes. And we're going to cover all three of those in just a little bit of detail so that we can clarify, and this should reduce the amount of discussion and stuff back and forth, okay? Good. Now, hey, listen, I'm going to ask you for a few things, and these are just personal favors that I'm going to ask of you, okay? Number one is, if you're going to send an email, the verboseness or the length, or a whole bunch. Look, if you wake up in the morning and look at your computer and you've got 200 emails, how much time do you spend on each email? I just asked that question. Well, see, that happens to me, and I'm okay with that, but I have to filter through the emails to make sure that I'm getting to the meat of what's going on. So instead of the long dissertation at the very beginning, look, just write happy distilling. I got you. We're on the same sheet of music, okay? If you're a subscriber and a viewer, just write happy distilling. I just saved you a paragraph, okay? And then let's just get right to the meat of what your question is, and I'll answer all of those, okay? You'll notice in a lot of cases, if I get an email from you, and I'm sorry, but if I get an email that says, hey, George, how many pounds of corn do I need for 50 gallons of water? So I'll skip over that, and I may even forget to get back to it. It's not high on our totem pole in the community because there's so much information out there, and we've already done a video on it. So, I mean, those are the ones that are really hard. They kind of get in the way, all right? Gotcha. Good. The next one is phone calls. If you call, please be polite. Yeah, you wouldn't believe it. And if you disagree with me, I'm okay with that. But last but not least, just remember, I can still hear you when we end the call and before you push the button. You wouldn't believe some of the things I've heard. And in some of those cases, I'll just block that number. So, enough said. Let's just be polite with each other, okay? And, oh, yeah, I've got to ask you for this, please. Subscribe. This is a free channel. This is free information. It costs you absolutely nothing. And I do this as a hobby, and just out of the sheer pleasure I get from sharing and also learning from you. So, please, subscribe. And, oh, by the way, look, if you like the video, just like it. Just hit the little like button. That makes a difference. Now, on to the things that I think that are important, okay? And that is, first of all, glycerin. Remember, don't overthink any of this stuff. Gosh, we go through, we try to explain from A to Z everything you need to know about a particular topic so that you fully understand. And sometimes we get really deep. You don't need that, but it's nice to know that just in the event that something goes wrong. You'll know where to go and how to fix it. You'll understand what you're doing so that when it doesn't work, maybe you can look back and figure out what you did wrong. Okay? So, don't overthink it though. Example, I'm going to use a clay crock pot, and I've made my own microwave, and I've positioned this magnetometer on the outside so that when I start to heat this up, what I'm going to do is I want to try to heat everything equally at the same time by using microwaves. And then when I achieve the right temperature, then I'm going to turn on the element and turn off the microwave. But I've also got propane on standby so that I can give it a boost. So I figure that if I can see where we're going, we're overthinking a simple process, and that has happened. So be cautious. Don't overthink it, but think through it. Not difficult. Okay. All right. And of course, your technique is your technique. Just don't violate the process. Okay? Glycerin. We did a video on glycerin, and this is a bottle I got from Brewcraft. Okay? Brewcraft. BREWCRAFT. Finishing formula. Glycerin. It's a 4-ounce bottle. I've given you all the information you need. Just look it up. Please, don't ask me to do the work for you. All right? This is enough for 2 full gallons because it's 2 ounces per gallon. All right? So if you're going to use 2 ounces, and that's what, about 75 milliliters. Somewhere in that neighborhood, about 75 ml. That's per gallon. And if you do that, what that does, that tends to take off, that's 3.78 liters. It tends to take off of that harsh bite that you have on the back of your throat when you drink a little bit of moonshine. And what does that come from? Well, that comes from some of those esters. Maybe in your process you were just a little bit too aggressive, but not aggressive enough to destroy the batch. But aggressive enough to pull out some of those tails just a little bit too early, but not in the amounts that will taint your entire run. Okay, you follow me? It's just, see, now we're talking about minor errors. Well, what this stuff will do is it'll kind of smooth that off, and it'll make that almost disappear. Okay? 2 ounces per gallon, and then you can add a little bit more. It all depends. Now, folks, friends, if you call me and say, I put 2 ounces, if you need more than 2 ounces, your problem is not going to be resolved by 4 ounces or 6 ounces or 8 ounces. You follow me? If your problem is that great, then you don't have a small error. I know you're with me. Okay, so that's it about glycerin, because glycerin is a very, very useful product. I use it almost religiously. Even in some of the finer products that we produce, I'll put in just a little bit of glycerin, and I might only use 1 ounce per gallon, but it's just enough to kind of smooth it takes a smooth shine and polishes it and makes it super smooth. Okay? All right. Enough about glycerin. Now, it's also sold under the name glycerol. Take that out. Glycerol. You can find that in the grocery store. You can find it in your health food aisle. It's rather expensive there. You can find it in the makeup aisle because, believe it or not, I'm going to go on a limb here and say probably 85 to 90% of what you consume at some point in time during its process has had glycerin added to it. Or if you're using a beauty product, there is glycerin or glycerol in that. It can be in an animal or in a vegetable form, but both of them are consumable, and it's universal. Enough about that. Tomato paste. I'm not quite sure if you recall the time that we did the tomato paste. or we may comment about using tomato paste in a mash. See, and this is where I get a little bit, sometimes, excuse me, sometimes I'm a little bit skittish about sharing an idea or a fix-it method from just general products you might have laying around that work extremely well. Only because all of a sudden it becomes the norm, the got to. Trust me, these are just tips and tricks. And in this particular case, tomato paste is not the answer, it is an answer. Okay, you've got a sugar wash, okay? You've got sugar, water, and yeast. That's it. Now, you know your yeast require certain things in their environment in order for them to be healthy. And one of them is nutrients. There's certain minerals, there's long-chain fatty acids, there are amino acids. There's a lot of things that they require in order to be healthy and vibrant. So you don't have those with a sugar wash. So what do? You always add nutrients. Now, in most cases, in an all-grain batch, the nutrients are already there. So an addition of nutrients is just a boost or a help, okay? Or diammonium phosphate. So we'll talk about DAP, diammonium phosphate, on another video. Okay, now in a pinch, oh my God, I've lost my yeast nutrient. I don't have any. What do I do? Don't call George. Grab a 6-ounce can of tomato paste, open it up. I have to say that. Open it up and dump the contents in there. That'll do two things. One, it's an immediate short fix for the lack of nutrients, because there's only so much it can do. And it also does a pretty good job of dropping your pH just a little bit. But it's not the answer. It's not the end all to be all that you have to use tomato paste. Tomato paste is just kind of helpful. Now listen, if you use a can of tomato paste and it works out great for you and all of a sudden these things go crazy, keep using it. You're not going to hurt my feelings or nobody else's. I mean, you found a niche in your process that tomato paste resolves. Okay? Open the can and dump the contents. Yes, not to be insulting, but an actual conversation was phone call. Yep, this is George. Oh, George, I dropped that can of tomato paste in there and it worked great. It took off like crazy. Oh, excuse me. It's fermenting like a bat. Like bat shit. Or, bat ass crazy. Well, great. He goes, can I use that same can in the next batch? Of course I asked, thinking to myself, this is impossible. Did you open that? He goes, nah, you told me just throw in a can of tomato paste. That's what I did. It worked so good, I want to try it. Can I use that same can? You know what? And I thought to myself, I'll play along. Sure you can. Just keep doing what you're doing. All right, and that takes care of tomato paste, okay? Now, last but not least, this is one. Believe it or not, it falls in the same category as tomato paste, but it's a little bit better. It's called Nutritional Yeast Flakes. Now, I picked these up at my local HEB. I think it cost me like $3, and this is a full 5-ounce, 144 grams of yeast flakes. You may be familiar with these. You may be familiar with them as a flavoring additive on popcorn, on a bunch of stuff, because it's got this buttery, cheesy flavor profile that is enhanced by the way this thing is produced. Now, the way they make this is they take, the yeast that we use in distilling, in brewing, and winemaking, and they propagate that in a glucose medium. Oh, what's that? Sugar. So, they grow a whole bunch of yeast, and then what they do is they kill them off. They heat it up, kill them off, separate it, clean it, use a centrifuge. They do a whole bunch of things and break it down to its basic ingredients with a whole bunch of dead yeast cells and some vitamin B12 and it's got some protein, some fiber, and it's an excellent source of food for yeast. Remember, yeast are also cannibalistic, and as they die off, they will eat the dead yeast cells because of the nutrients left over in those yeast cells to include the amino acids that are necessary for their propagation. So these come in handy. Now, they're known in Australia as savory yeast flakes. Okay? So the normal. Here they call them nutritional yeast flakes. In New Zealand, they'll be known as brewfacts. Yep. They got different names all over the world. In the U.S., sometimes you'll hear it referred to as hippie dust. Oh gosh, or just plain old nooch. I don't know that. I don't know where that came from. I got that from Wikipedia on what these names were. But those are the common names it goes by. But it's really useful. About a tablespoon of that thrown in there is just helpful. Now, last but not least, please do not confuse yeast flakes with yeast extract. Okay? Don't confuse the two. All right? Yeast extract is something totally different. It's where the cell walls of the yeast have also been removed. Ooh. It's where most of your amino acids are and the things that the yeast are looking for. And also it comes out, it's like a brownish, a dark color, as opposed to yeast flakes normally being a golden yellow or something similar to that. Now, you'll find, yeast extract is used Lay's uses them on barbecue potato chips because of the flavor profile. It has that type of a flavor profile. Anybody who's familiar with Vegemite or Marmite, that's an acquired taste, but it's also used in those products as well. So it's really helpful and can be utilized in a lot of different things, but not for our purposes. Okay, so don't confuse the two. Stray away from yeast extract. Is it going to hurt anything? Look, man, if you put yeast extract in there and it works for you, by golly, keep on doing it. Okay, I don't care. It really makes no difference. I'm just trying to give you the basic facts and the information, and you do with it what you will. Oh, as always, we end this, and we're going to go on, and I'll do another one because I got some more information I need to share with you, and we're going to do this piece by piece so that everybody can stay up to date. Don't forget to click the bell and get updates. Happy distilling.